Today, we're journeying to the heart of St. Petersburg to explore one of the world's most magnificent and historically significant buildings, the incredible Winter Palace. For over 150 years, this wasn't just a building. It was the ultimate symbol of the Russian Empire's immense power, wealth, and ambition. From its opulent halls, the Tsars ruled over a sixth of the world's landmass. But its story is far more than just gold and grandeur. It's a saga of art, revolution, and the very soul of Russia itself. So, how did this colossal palace come to be? Our story begins in the early 18th century with Peter the Great, the visionary Tsar who founded St. Petersburg on the marshy banks of the Neva River. He wanted a window to Europe, a modern capital to rival the great cities of the West. His first winter palace was a modest, two-story Dutch-style house, reflecting his practical nature. It was here that he lived, worked, and eventually passed away in 1725. A small part of this original structure is actually preserved within the Hermitage Theatre today, a humble beginning for what was to come. After Peter's death, his successors felt his home wasn't quite grand enough for the growing might of the Russian Empire. His niece, Empress Anna Ivanovna, commissioned the brilliant Italian architect Francesco Bartolomeo Rastrelli to expand the palace. Rastrelli was a master of the lavish Baroque style, and he transformed the building into something much more impressive. But even this wasn't the final form. The Winter Palace, as we know it today, is the masterpiece of Peter the Great's daughter, Empress Elizabeth. Elizabeth had an insatiable appetite for luxury and extravagance. She wanted a palace that would utterly dwarf every other royal residence in Europe, a statement of absolute power. In 1754, she once again hired Rastrelli, giving him an almost unlimited budget and a clear instruction: build something unforgettable. The construction was a monumental undertaking. For 8 years, over 4,000 workers toiled day and night. Materials were sourced from all over the empire and beyond. The scale was staggering. The palace would have over 1,500 rooms, nearly 2,000 windows, and over 100 grand staircases. Rastrelli designed the exterior in his signature vibrant, flamboyant Baroque style, with a sea of columns, intricate stucco work, and countless statues adorning the roofline. The iconic sea green and white facade we see today is actually a later color scheme, but the sheer architectural splendor is all Rastrelli. Tragically, Empress Elizabeth didn't live to see her dream palace completed. She died in late 1761, just months before construction finished. The first royal resident to move in was Catherine the Great in 1762. Catherine, however, had different tastes. She was a woman of the Enlightenment, and she found the extravagant Baroque interior a bit old-fashioned. So, she began a massive redecoration project, bringing in architects who favored the more restrained and elegant neoclassical style. This is where the palace's dual identity begins. While the exterior remained a Baroque masterpiece, the interiors were transformed into a showcase of neoclassicism. Catherine was also a passionate art collector. She started acquiring vast collections of paintings, sculptures, and books from all over Europe. To house her ever-growing collection, she had a new wing built next to the palace, which she called her Hermitage, from the French word for a place of solitude. This was the seed from which the world-famous State Hermitage Museum would grow. The small Hermitage, the Old Hermitage, and the Hermitage Theatre were all added during her reign. Throughout the 19th century, the Winter Palace remained the official residence of the Romanov dynasty. Each Tsar and Tsarina left their mark, adding new rooms and redecorating others to suit their personal tastes. It was the center of court life, hosting lavish balls, formal receptions, and state ceremonies that were legendary for their opulence. Imagine thousands of guests in glittering uniforms and gowns, dancing in the Jordan Hall under crystal chandeliers, a spectacle designed to impress and intimidate visiting dignitaries. But outside the gilded gates, a different Russia was stirring. The palace became a potent symbol of the vast gulf between the unimaginable wealth of the aristocracy and the crushing poverty of the masses. This tension would eventually boil over. A major disaster struck the palace in 1837. A devastating fire raged for 3 days, destroying almost the entire interior. The guards managed to save most of the art and treasures by heroically throwing them out of the windows onto the snow below. Tsar Nicholas I was determined to rebuild. He ordered the palace to be reconstructed in just over a year, an incredible feat of engineering. The architects Vasily Stisov and Alexander Bryulov were tasked with recreating the destroyed halls, blending historical accuracy with the latest fireproofing technology of the time. The Malachite room and the restored Jordan staircase are stunning testaments to their work. The palace's role as the heart of power also made it a target. It was the scene of Bloody Sunday in 1905, when imperial guards fired on unarmed protesters marching towards the palace, a pivotal event that triggered the First Russian Revolution. After this tragedy, Tsar Nicholas II and his family moved to a more secluded palace outside the city, and the Winter Palace became more of a ceremonial building than a home. The final, dramatic chapter in its story as an imperial residence came in 1917, during the February Revolution. The monarchy was overthrown. For a few months, the palace became the seat of the provisional government. Then, on the night of October 25th, in a moment immortalized in history, Bolshevik forces stormed the palace. This storming of the Winter Palace was the decisive event of the October Revolution, ushering in the Soviet era. After the revolution, the palace's fate was secured. The new Soviet government declared the entire complex a state museum. The private rooms of the Tsars were preserved, and the vast art collections were opened to the public for the first time. The palace was no longer a symbol of imperial autocracy, but a palace of the people, home to one of the greatest collections of art and culture in human history. Today, the Winter Palace and the State Hermitage Museum are inseparable. Walking through its halls is like walking through history itself. You can stand in the throne room where the Tsars held court, see the private apartments of the last Romanovs, and then turn a corner to find yourself face to face with masterpieces by Leonardo da Vinci, Rembrandt, and Picasso. It's a building that has witnessed unimaginable luxury, devastating fire, and violent revolution. It has been a home, a seat of government, and now a treasure house for the world. It stands proudly on the banks of the Neva, a breathtaking testament to the turbulent, tragic, and brilliant history of Russia. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the Winter Palace. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories from around the world. Let me know in the comments which historic building you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.